Before we plunge into today's deep dive, take a second to power this journey. Tap subscribe, hit that like button, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Every click you make tells the algorithm that accurate, nuanced coverage still matters. Join the NewsDecoded community and help us keep peeling back the layers, together. The sun was still high over downtown Kyiv when the sharp crack of a suppressed pistol shattered the afternoon bustle. Witnesses say the killer never broke stride. 3 measured shots, the faintest whisper of sound, and Colonel Ivan Furonich, one of Ukraine's most accomplished intelligence officers, dropped to the pavement. No getaway car screeched, no dramatic chase ensued. The shooter and an accomplice melted into the crowd, leaving only the colonel's lifeless body and a stunned city grappling with the implications of an assassination carried out in what should have been the most secure square mile. Furonich was no ordinary spymaster. As a senior planner inside the feared 5th Directorate of the Security Service of Ukraine, he masterminded daring operations deep behind Russian lines. The 2016 bomb that eliminated separatist commander Arsen Pavlov, better known by the nom de guerre Motorola, and, more recently, the coordinated drone strike that rattled the Russian city of Kursk. Insiders credit him with weaving American-supplied technology and homegrown ingenuity into a lethal web of sabotage and targeted killings. Removing a strategist of his caliber is, to put it bluntly, a blow that echoes far beyond. Almost immediately, officials blamed Russia's Federal Security Service, the FSB, pointing to the professional execution and the use of a silenced handgun, a signature of covert Russian operations in Europe since the Skripal poisoning. Ukrainian tactical teams traced the suspects to a modest apartment on the city's left bank. When calls to surrender failed, a brief gun battle left both assailants dead. Authorities displayed 2 bodies to reporters, insisting the pair were.
Yet skeptics note how tidy the narrative sounds, a perfect chain of evidence, tied up with no surviving witnesses and conveniently demolished forensic trails. Was this genuinely an FSB hit squad, or a hasty tableau meant to reassure a shaken public? For now, the truth lies somewhere between classified dossiers and the shouting match of online rumour.
Regardless, the broader message is unmistakable. Ukraine's war is fought not only along muddy front lines or in the shattered remains of power plants, but also in cafes, parking garages, and quiet suburban streets. Each side targets the other's nerve centers, intelligence chiefs, logisticians, drone wizards, in an underground duel that seldom makes the evening news yet shapes every artillery barrage and drone swarm we see above ground. For ordinary Ukrainians, the idea that even the capital's core cannot shield a national hero shreds a bit more of the illusion of safety. And honestly, safety feels more elusive by the day. Within 48 hours of the Kyiv hit, Russia unleashed a blizzard of unmanned violence. Roughly 600 Shahed kamikaze drones and 26 cruise missiles barreled into western Ukrainian cities, including Lutsk, previously considered a relative sanctuary near the Polish border. 2 nights later, another 60 drones buzzed toward Kyiv itself. Air defense crews managed to down or jam about 2/3 of the incoming machines, yet the remainder slammed into warehouses, rail spurs, and transformer yards. President Zelensky later tallied a single week's tally at 1,800 drones, 1,200 guided bombs, and over 80 ballistic and cruise missiles. Those numbers dwarf the entire monthly output of many Western weapons plants. They also reveal Moscow's strategy bury Ukraine's finite air defense stockpile in a tidal wave of expendable aircraft parts and commercial engines. Drone warfare, once a sideshow, is now the pulse of the battlefield. Shaheds are cheap hunks of plywood and fiberglass, but they forced Ukrainian crews to light up priceless Patriot and NASAMS batteries night after night. Every interceptor fired is an interceptor gone, and replacement missiles cost in the low to mid-6 figures, assuming they can be found at all. That brutal arithmetic keeps NATO strategists awake. If Kyiv's magazines run dry, Russia's cruise missiles will stroll straight through to government ministries, hospitals, and railway hubs. On the ground, the story is equally grim. Russian infantry pushed past defensive pockets to seize the twin villages of Mykolaiivka and Mirny, known in Soviet days by the collective name Karl Marx, near the embattled industrial hub of Pokrovsk in Donetsk Oblast. Ukrainian spokespeople frame the retreat as a controlled repositioning, but privately concede that losing elevation and road access around Pokrovsk complicates any counterstrike. In just 24 hours, Ukrainian and Russian units clashed over 200 times along the sprawling eastern front, 60 of those firefights concentrated around the smoldering outskirts of the city. Trench videos show a moonscape of shell craters, tree trunks shaved to splinters, and soldiers operating at ranges so close they can hear each other's radios crackle. If the front feels stuck, the diplomatic map is anything but static. In Beijing, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov clasped hands with his Chinese counterpart, projecting an image of unshakable strategic partnership.
While Beijing avoids direct arms transfers, its political and economic lifeline keeps Moscow's war machine humming through sanctions. Further east, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un made a theatrical promise of unconditional support. Defense analysts estimate Pyongyang has already shipped upwards of 12 million 155mm artillery shells into Russian depots, a staggering figure when you realize Western factories combined will struggle to hit 2 million shells a year by next summer.
Enter the United States, still furnishing the lion's share of Ukraine's high-end kit, but now wrestling with fresh political math. Former President Trump, poised for a return to the White House, publicly damned what he calls President Biden's blank check for Kyiv. Yet behind closed doors, his team is scrambling to placate NATO allies who warn that without new interceptors, the Russian Air Force might be circling Kyiv's Independence Square within a month. The stopgap plan? Washington sells additional Patriot batteries to European members. The Europeans then hand over their older but still lethal systems to Ukraine. It is a shell game balanced on taxpayer wallets from Berlin to Bucharest. Critics argue that every euro funneled into air defense means another school roof left unrepaired or a hospital short-staffed. Supporters counter that deterring Russian expansion is the greatest social program imaginable. Against that backdrop, markets brace for possible U.S. sanctions on Russian oil, a lever Mr. Trump has hinted he will yank hard. Should those tariffs land, they could strip billions from the Kremlin's war chest, but also twist global crude supplies, driving up pump prices and testing voters' patience on the streets of Detroit, Milan, and Sao Paulo alike. Zoom out and an unsettling pattern emerges. The assassination of a colonel in daylight, the relentless drone barrages the trench duels for hamlets most of the world can't pronounce. Each incident might feel isolated. Together, they reveal a conflict burrowing deeper into total society mode, where spies, coders, energy traders, and think tank economists wield as much sway as tank crews. Diplomatic shock absorbers that once prevented local wars from ballooning are thinning. Historians remind us that no world war began with a single gunshot. Rather, a chain of misjudgments clicked into place until escalation became inevitable.
We are watching new links forged week after week.
Yet amid the noise, millions of ordinary Ukrainians still board morning trains, millions of Russians still line up for groceries, and European parents still debate weekend soccer practice schedules. They all share an unspoken wager that leaders somewhere up the chain will pull back from the edge before loose triggers or overambitious drones trip society into freefall. Whether that faith is warranted remains open. So, where does that leave us? With hard questions about how much lethality the West can or should muster, how far Moscow and Beijing will stretch their alignment, and how many more covert strikes may darken city crosswalks before negotiators finally sit down. For Colonel Furonich, the answers come too late. For the rest of us, they could shape an entire era. If you value coverage that resists easy slogans and digs past the day's headlines, lend a hand. Hit subscribe, smash that like, and share your perspective below. Every interaction grows the circle of people committed to clarity over chaos. From all of us at NewsDecoded, thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and above all, stay safe.